Bam, we're recording. Hello, the YouTubes. And Twitch live people. Gonna hit this thing till we can go look at stuff. You know? Okay. Alright. Photo. So, this is Gold Seekers. I thought I closed Discord on here. Okay. So, got this goblin lady. How are we doing? So, Gold Seeker, there's something that immediately stands out to me in that, and I see this with quite a lot of painters, you get this very pastel-y feeling with your work because you have a tendency to really use a lot of white. It looks like, it's just so much like white in the highlights that just washes out your colors. So I would try and relax a little bit on so much white, right? Because like things like this jacket, right? This stuff and this tends to start to look like the same, right? The skin has a lot of white mixed in. This pink has a lot of white. Like, there's so much white in the highlights that causes you to lose color. Like, this has some good color to it. But yeah, if you like even this, right? It's just too much. So what we're gonna do, right, is I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna take a color tone, something like this red. Okay, and it doesn't have to be like super red, but we're gonna set it to like, I don't know, something like a darken, right? And I think you can get a lot more out of some of the color here by just like, you know, not over, just don't overdo it with some stuff. Maybe multiply would work better. Yeah, something like this, right? It's like, just let it be red, all right? Who is that? Luisto and Champ Fatty. Hello. Carlos Magnus. Good evening. Hello. Welcome, welcome. So, that's one thing, right? Then we can take like a denim color, something. Denim tends to be a little more like something like this, right? It's blue, but it's also slightly indigo kind of color, okay? And like, if we're going for like a denim jacket here, right? You don't have to highlight so much. Like certain materials can be darker. This is going to remove some of that like pastel-y feeling to everything. It's also going to create like some further separation between the shirt and the jacket. Okay. So try and just let things be, you know, the color that they are. Right? Even just that. Right? Like look at the difference in interest between these two. Right? Where it's like you've got this like nice punch of color in there. Okay? Down here, okay, I'm going to take this color that you sort of used in the hair, right? Okay, maybe I can reuse a little of that in the wraps. Alright, and now what can we do with the skin? Like the skin is so, see how like white and pale this looks? It's just lost all of its color information. Okay, so something like this instead. Right, so come back with some of your tone and like filter some color back on top, and it'll make for much more interesting color saturation in the piece, right? You don't have to always push everything so white, right? This is also a little weird here, like the stomach shouldn't have this like dark section in between, really. It should just like if you're going to transition to like a gray, this sort of like more skin tony patch, what I would do is I would transition like the color, right? So it's like the similar value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this green and I'm just going to like shift it yellow and maybe pull out some of the light, right? And it shouldn't really change value that much. It just shifts in hue and saturation, right? I'm going to make for a more natural transition, okay? So that's the big things I would try and do. Beyond that, there's like little areas here and there where I think your dark lining could have been a little more clear. Like some of your shadows, like around here, are also getting a little too dark. It would soften some of these. And then you could probably also push some deeper shadows a little more. Like, I don't really understand this gray here if you're trying to do like the same thing that's on the skin, but it's like in the shadow area of the arm, so I don't really know if this would happen. But you can go like a bit darker and more intense with the shadow colors also. Right? So push the saturation kind of everywhere. Even your shadows like are very gray. Look how gray this is, right? Can you guys see that? Like, if I color select this, can you see how far to the left this is? This is basically gray. You have all this room over here to play with. So instead, coming somewhere down here, right? And you can play with these like more saturated shadows. Does someone paint with, I don't know if Gold Seeker's in the chat. Does anybody know Gold Seeker? And do they paint with Monument? This feels like, I get this feeling with like people that paint with a lot of pro acryl, this happens. Not that pro acryl you can't get like nice saturated colors, but I feel like there's this tendency to get this like pastel-y look often. Okay. Hope that makes sense. Good? Great. All right, next one. Who is next? Yeah, Sukidong. All right. Stop jumping down. Who's the last person we have tonight? Crow? All right. Crow's the last person. So, Sukidong. Or Champ. Hi, Champ. It's my last work. Question. Okay, like texture, light, shadow, etc. Cool. Okay. Do you think it might be from the paint having white in it to be opaque? Do you feel, hold on. Do you feel that with Pro Acryl, even compared to AK or Vallejo AK or most Chimera single pigment? No, it's in comparison to all of them. I often get this feeling like, and I don't know if it's certain colors people are using or how they're mixing it or what, but oftentimes when I see Pro Acryl, and maybe because of how matte it is, that it often has this like pastel-y kind of desaturated feeling. CP Gamandan, hello, thanks for following. And then do you think it might be the paint having white? I mean, a paint having a lot of white in it can cause it to desaturate like that, yes. Okay, let's look at this guy. So, picture's a little blurry, but yeah, I mean, the colors and stuff are nice on the front here. I think maybe you could use a little more separation. I'm going to say something here, and I don't want the sculptor or whoever to take offense here, but I don't think this is the most interesting model ever. Okay? This, like, Cthulhu face thing, there's not a whole lot going on outside of, like, the top hat and the tentacles, and, like, even when I think of, like, a Cthulhu monster, I kind of think of, what's his name from Pirates of the Caribbean? What is his name? Davy Jones, right? Like, there's more to the face. Here it's just like eyes directly into tentacles. And it's just like you've got the eyes, right? And then it's just like straight in, and there's no like space here really of like a face. It's just eyes and then lines. It's just like, yeah, it's not the most, and there's not really like a lot of flow or anything interesting to it. Like if there were like tentacles, like wouldn't it be funny? Sorry, this has become like a sculptor's critique. Like wouldn't it be funny because of the the top hat if this guy's like tentacles formed like a curly mustache? But anyways, besides the point, okay? The actual painting on the front is quite nice. What I want to do is I'm going to take a look at the side. Oh man, it looks like it's going to storm again. The wind is blowing like crazy. Those trees are moving like this outside. Yeah, I wanted to look at it from the side here. So, OSL stuff, right? This is okay, but this doesn't really make sense. Like if we think about some of the shadows here that are like this blue, if you have this like blue shadow, this blue shadow should kind of show up like on the front facing sides of the like back of the head here. Like there should be some of this bluish color that wraps a little more. Like this orange light cannot, let me draw with like a light orange so you can see a little better. Like light travels in straight lines, right? So light cannot like wrap around the side of his head, okay? So you won't end up with like this red on this side unless there's some sort of reddish light source that's coming from this way, right? So in that case, you need to be considering that like there's orange light coming from here, and then you've got to travel through these oranges into these like bluish tones, which tend to go more gray. And yeah, you might get a little bit of like reddish tone as you move into some of the oranges, right? But they won't be like all the way on the shadow side. Now, the next thing is like you need to remember that and you kind of did it here, but let's look at the front again, right? This feather is way higher in value than this hat, and this is a higher value than the hat. So when you're looking at it from the back here, this hat needs to be a much darker value, and that might mean like that it's some sort of intense reddish orange like this. That means that this hat needs to be a darker tone on the sides than the feather is, right? The feather is going to be the thing that gets the most like yellow orange. It'll be like really intense yellow orange because it's white, and it's going to really pick up that color more than anything else, right? And then, whoa, technical difficulties. Hi. There's a big storm outside. Sorry, thunder took out the power for a second. So, hopefully it stays on. Okay, and we can keep going. Hopefully it doesn't go out again, but if it does, sorry. I cannot stop. So, alright, let's see what, alright, let's get back to it, okay? So, anyways, we were talking about the light from behind, right? You want to make sure that the value of the light on the backside being affected by the light is equivalent to the light on the front, right? So if things are lighter on the front, they need to be lighter on the back also. And certain materials and certain colors will be affected more by certain colored lights, right? So things like blue will not be as affected as much by orange light sources. Okay? I'm sure there's some video where I kind of went over this a little more, but different colors do get affected by certain colored lights more or less. Okay? So that's the big thing, right? So make sure when you're doing OSL that you're considering the values on the back just like you are on the front. Right? Boom. Polinsky. What did Polinsky have to say? Once again, I'm trying to focus only on volumetry. This time with only one single light, the torso of the... it's probably the... Okay, what? The part that confuses me. Soft lights, okay. Sure. Some recommendations on how to work with water effects. I'm sorry, but I do not. I am not the water effects guy. I wish I could tell you, but that is not my thing. Okay? So. My recommendation for learning to work with water effects is find someone who has done more work with water effects than me. Okay, here we have a little bit of a similar issue. The volume's pretty good so far. Lights, highlights could be like smoother, right? So we could soften this a little bit. We could also try and like, so do you see how the green is getting more yellow, right? The green starts here. All right, let's look in the shadow. Okay, so what do we have? We have green like this. Okay, then we have a green midtone like this, right? Which is somewhere, so it's going from like here to here. And then in the light, what do we have? We have a green that's way up here. But then what happens to the red? So the red, we kind of have a like purplish tone. Okay, that makes sense. And then in the mid-tone, what do we have? The mid-tone, we have this like sort of reddish sort of color here. But then in the lights, what happens? We're still sort of in the same area, right? So what we want is something more like this, where it also shifts more yellow, okay? So shift a little yellow with the lights of the red also. And you guys are really using like, you're trying to push highlights and you're using too much white, okay? Try to not use too much white, all right? And if you need, you can come in towards the end and like add little highlights. But red is an interesting color that you don't really want to push the highlights too far. Otherwise, it just, everything starts looking pink, right? The general rendering of the volumes is pretty good. Okay. You might want to consider like some more light here. Maybe a little more light on the hands, but this is fine. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense if the light's coming from, like, the light is really focused here, right? And then you get this like one random fold over here that are catching light. Really, the light should be like more up here. Like this. Something like that. Beyond the Box Art, hello, welcome. Hi, hello. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, right? So you want to build that light towards the center and then build it up towards the face, right? Something along those lines. Okay, I mean, this stuff is fine, like the golds and things. I would probably also say you probably want to push some of the light on these more, like these horns, so something like this. Maybe a little more on like the beak. Okay. As far as water effects, yeah, I'm not your guy on that one. And then the last thing is like really try and clean some of this stuff up, right? It's we want some like nice separation here. Okay. Help separate those things out. This is a weird figure, man. It's like really skinny and like volumes are really flat. I don't think it's like the most interesting figure to study volumes on, right? Last thing would probably be like, yes, wood is like often slightly reflective because it's been oiled or whatever, so you probably would have like some sort of highlight like running the length of the staff like that. Okay, this also doesn't make a ton of sense, like this really dark section of the metal right here. Probably be something more along that line, a little softer. Right, you go a little, your transition from light to dark is like a little too fast. Okay, so maybe something a little more like that. Okay. Alright. Generally, I think the figure's pretty cool, but yeah, it's not the most. These kind of figures often look kind of weird from the front, too. Like, I bet this figure looks better from more on the side. No, it's quite flat even from the side. Okay, weird. Yeah, I would expect... I'm not going to get into critiquing sculpts again. But there you go. That's the idea. Okay? Papa Singe. I would like to get general feedback. Okay. Let me look at the shoulder too. Oh, the shield's quite nice. Don't have much to say about that. Look at the arm and the tiger. Or lion, I mean. Pretty good. Pretty good. What is this? Papa Singed? Is Papa Singed in chat? So, there's some really nice things about this. The metallics in general are quite nice. Did somebody use some reference photo for this? Some reference material? I also think the leopard's pattern is pretty cool, but it's probably a little small. It feels a little it's too small to be like leopard print, like an actual leopard's fur. So it feels a little trashy, like to me, like, you know, like people wearing velour jumpsuits, you know, with like leopard print on it. Kumulo. Hello, welcome. I get what you're going for, right? But yeah, it doesn't read as like actual leopard, and then it's like, where's this person getting like leopard printed patterns fabric from? The like volumetric rendering and like the skin is quite smooth. I think the one thing I'm really seeing here is the face. I'm also a little confused by the hair, like going for the blonde. Like I guess she dyes her hair or bleaches it or whatever. And then like but is she also bleaching her eyebrows with the blonde hair? Anyways, all right. So one thing, let's jump into these like these dark skin tones. So you have some nice oranges and stuff in here, but I would like to see a little more of these like reddish tones. You tend to have a bit more reddish coloration in the skin, particularly in like the middle values and the shadows. Like you often get these like kind of deep reds. So I think this would help a bit to like intensify the reddish color in this coloration in the skin. Also, the face is like, there's so much light that she's, like, if you look at it here, she's losing a bit of her, like, dark complexion, right? She's got this dark skin tone, which down here reads as a dark skin tone, but as you move up here, there's so much light on her face that it's like, she's losing a bit of that dark complexion. So what I would like to see is you push some more shadow or just like general like lowering the midtones a little bit here in order to give her like a darker overall complexion, right? You've just made some of the like general lights like too big and you lose some of this feeling, okay? So like things like on the side of the head, a lot of this might be just quite a bit darker, right? We should be able to get her closer to what I would call like a dark skin, like a black skin tone, right? So the difference between like this and that. Yeah, you see? And that's just using this like deep reddish color, right? You see, you can use that quite a lot of places as like a filter, right? Okay, a couple other little things. A little heavier line work in some areas because this is like so close to the skin. Like you don't have to put. I like the like shine there, but like little more separation. Okay, probably a little heavier on like the eyelids also, just to like bring that out a little more. Hair's really good. Belts and stuff are really nice. Metallics are great. All the leathers and things look pretty good. I think some of these are supposed to be jewelry, so I would probably consider coming back and like changing some of these, right? They're too perfect. Like this is, I think these are supposed to be jewelry, kind of like she's got in her hair. But nice job overall. Right. Just be aware, like, don't overdo it on these dark skin tones, because it's quickly like you lose the fact that this is a darker skin, right? You guys tell me, huh? Am I crazy, or do you agree? All right. Next. Scott. Why does I always want to jump to the bottom? That's so annoying. So we'll grab a couple at once. Scott is working on this Imperial guy. Hey, I got a question, Star Wars people. So I've been watching Andor. Just a quick aside. I've been watching Andor, and you have like the different uniforms, right? They have like the guys that wear white, and they're the intelligence or whatever, right? The people that wear the white uniform. Then you have stormtroopers, right? But then you have like the guys that wear uniforms kind of like this, but they're all black, but they're clearly like infantry. Who the heck are they? And why are they not just stormtroopers? Scouts? Okay. But then there's scout troopers. They're like the ones that ride the bikes in Return of the Jedi. Apparently he changed it. He worked on the goggles some. All right. Okay, so we have Scott. Something about the reflections, right? I made some poor decisions in the lighting directions on the pose of his body, not taking account of the heads turned. Happy to help in any direction you would like, in particular the goggles. Well, okay. And then Guy. I'm going to go with it's Guy. Greetings from Brazil. Hello. He would like feedback on this dragon. Okay, we can do that. It's pretty good. All right. Which one was yours? Okay. Yeah, I mean, in general, I'm assuming this guy's small. I don't know if he's Star Wars Legion or if he's Shatterpoint, because those are two very different scales. Like, Legion is much smaller than Shatterpoint, but in general, this is, like, it's pretty good. It's got a very kind of historical style to it, almost. I don't have reference to know exactly, like, the uniform colors here, but I think he probably could go just a little darker to separate, like a little heavier outlining, you know, not quite black, but these like nice deep sort of khaki kind of colors, right? Like here you've done a good job outlining. Let's go a little bigger. Right, you've done a nice job outlining here, but like some of this outlining could be a little heavier, right? Like really outline some of this stuff. It really helps like separate, especially when you have so many of these like subtle grays that are very similar, right? Just like try and emphasize these things a little bit more. The reflection and things on the pants and boots are pretty good. Again, outlining, like separate that cuff, the cuff of the boot here. Clean that edge up. Lighting direction, yeah, I mean, okay, it's a little off in the face, but I get what you're doing. Where you have more of a reflection kind of from here, right? So like on the helmet, where your light reflection is like here, and it would probably be like on his face here. A easy way to fix this without going like too crazy would be to take this reflection and move it to the other side. So what we'll do is we'll just bring this down, right? So we're going to take this, we're going to take this side down a little bit. So we'll flatten this out. And then we'll put this reflection over here instead. And now it's like at least on the same side as the helmet, right? I thought it was like Imperial Security or something, because in whatever episode I watched episode 7 of the second season recently, and like all the guys in black with like their duffel bags and stuff show up at the end, and they're like clearly some kind of infantry or whatever, but and they call them basically like green. They're like, yeah, they're not like seasoned veterans or anything like that. And I was like, so what makes them different than, you know, just stormtroopers? So I think that could help you out, right? So you switch the reflection side. I mean, then still you have some issues here, but like the pants and clothes, it's not a big of an issue. Let's look at the picture of the face real quick. So this is where you've redone the googles. Good, but again, like these blacks, like you need something. Oh man, it's such a big picture that it's right. Like these dark lines, man, will really help separate some of this stuff. Like I feel like you're a little scared to go like really dark, you know. So like really outlining this, like in the eyes, as you've gone quite dark. Here on the face, so if you want the lighting to match up, try and push a little more light to this side of the face. Something like this, right? More light here, more light on the side of the nose, more light on the side of the chin, and then we'll push the light a little bit more. So it's like light here. Like this, and then you can push some light like up into this area here, so the nose transition, right? And then you get these like deep shadows kind of on the other side, right? So it's like this stuff is much darker. And then try and outline the mouth, like get the mouth a little more clear. And I think that'll make some more sense, yeah? That way, so you look at it like that, and the lighting is clearly like coming kind of from the same side. Okay. But yeah, generally pretty good. Push that dark lining more, okay? It's just so pale at the moment, all right? Like, you really should have like a clear separation of light and shadow, especially when it's like stuff like this breastplate, right? Like, this should be like quite dark to show that that's like on top of his shirt, all right? And it'll help it stand out a lot more. Okay. The goggles, I mean, I think they're fine. What you can do is, like, instead of it being in the top corner, try and pull it out a little more. Something maybe like slightly more centered, right? You can also do like a gradient. If you want a more cartoony look, you could do... It seems like you're trying to paint the horizon, but that doesn't necessarily make sense if his goggles are like up on top of his head, right? You probably would just be more sky, so you could also do stuff like this, right? You can do these kind of like lines to make it just like look like there's something reflecting. He's outside, so like in a snowy environment, so it's basically just going to reflect a bunch of white anyways, because he's like, the sky is probably just gray and cloudy, and then the ground is just white, so most of the goggles are just going to reflect white, right? So, the other trick is, like, if they're not tinted, you take the shadow color of the helmet and you use that as the background, right? So you use that green behind, and then you can do stuff like, you'll see historical guys do this, where they paint the inside of the goggle. So they'll actually, like, this only kind of works from one direction, though. Like, it works really good with busts or something where you're forcing the view. But you can do this kind of thing where you, like, paint the interior of the goggle, and then you paint the reflection on top of that. See, it looks like there's, like, 3-dimension to the goggles, and you can like see through them to the helmet underneath. And you kind of like shade around, right? So, but the actual reflection should always be like the last thing you paint, the reflection on top of the glass. And you can do something like that. Okay. Who's next? Chino Cudiero. Diero. Oh. Hello. Dan Connors. Hi. Hi Eric, I finished this mini and would really appreciate your feedback. My focus was more on definition and contrast. I tried to paint a wooden floor, but I couldn't get it right, so I simplified it with straight lines. Love to hear your thoughts on how to push it further. Okay. Sometimes simplifying is the right thing to do. I'm guessing this thing is not very big, huh? I'm guessing this is quite small. So I dig the books and stuff. The books are looking really nice. I think the book that the dragon's holding could be a little more interesting, especially considering it's like the main book. There's like a little bit of, like, there should be a little bit of brown edge banding to the like the cover, right? So there should be like some separation here on that edge to show like the paper versus the pages or the book, just like you did on these, right? Like here you clearly painted the binding, right? So the book should do the same. Yeah, I mean, this stuff is fine. I think you could push the lights a little bit more, so like something in between these two. So here you have this red that immediately jumps to like this really bright edge highlight, so something maybe here. And then like this top surface should be lighter than the side, but darker, or like darker than the edge highlight, right? So it shows that there's like two, like this plane is lighter than the side plane, right? So there's more light coming from above, and then you edge highlight the other part, and then you can like, you could even darken some of this stuff a little more. Right. So that's cool. You could also try, I can see you sort of did it, but you could try and like have a couple lines to like show this a little bit more. Like here, I like that you did some like edge highlights and lines in the pages themselves. Some of this gets slightly messy, so I'd try and clean this up a little bit. Some of that is a little thick. The dragon is missing something, like the horns need some kind of highlight or something here, depending on what color they are. So like some sort of highlight on the horns. We need to try and draw attention to this pink like thing more. Also could consider simplifying the colors here. You've kind of, it's sort of just like all over. I would eliminate something. And right now what sort of stands out to me is the blue. Kind of just like is out of scheme, right? You've got like browns, oranges, greens, and then this pink. Then this blue sort of sticks out and really wants to draw attention. So what I might consider is maybe shifting this to like a nice like deeper greenish tone or something. Something like, I'm just gonna, this is gonna be like way too thick, but just from a color standpoint, right? Because the green works good with the yellow and the red. Where the blue really stands out as it's on its own. Like just simplifying like that can often like, now the pink wants to draw more attention. Right? Maybe just a touch more of this like reddish tone in the pink of the little dragon thing. Like we'll get it slightly closer to the reddish and orangish tone of the books. Right, so we're warming up this whole scene. You could just darken it, but really it's like it exists outside the like color gamut, right? You have a lot of colors that are like in here, and then you have colors that are like, you're sort of like all here, right? It's like everything is from here to here, okay? Even your green is like this, like, it's not like this bluish green, it's like this desaturated yellow green. So you're kind of, everything is over here on this side of the wheel, right? And then you're like, boom, blue, like this really saturated blue, like sticks out, right? By itself. It just lives on an island over here by itself. So it's going to draw a lot more attention because of that. Like all of this stuff, there's this big spectrum, right? Spectrum of color that lives anywhere. In any one of these, I could grab like somewhere over here that there's like one of these colors existing. And then this is just like by itself, right? Maybe if you were going to use the blue, like, now might be the time to be like, you know, his book is blue, right? But then I would still try and find somewhere else to use this, right? Like you splash it somewhere else. H-bit, hello. And that might help you draw that focus to where we want. Okay? The wood floor, it's fine, right? It works. Totally works. Okay, cool. Oh, God. Where were we at? Cragzog. Save. Yeah, no, it definitely saved. Got a bronze and single fig at Arc Open. Already learned my lesson about not varnishing reds. Looking forward to general feedback. Okay. Yeah, blue eyes would also like help a lot. Yep. Yeah, this is good. I actually quite like the red. See, this is what I'm talking about, guys. Like, you see how he's highlighted the red and it's like this like nice peachy sort of skin tone kind of color red. It's not like, he's not like, oh, I'm going to grab a red and I'm going to highlight this red with this pink, right? And it's just like, it just washes everything out. Like, it's a good job of making this red. Now, it could be like, I haven't seen it in hand, so maybe it could be like a little more intense in areas. But in general, I think that looks quite nice. Base is pretty cool. There could be some more attention on the goblin. I feel like the goblin is getting a little bit lost. I also think that the metals, though the rendering and sort of the shapes are quite good, I think the colors are a little boring. So it's just like grays and a little bit of browns in here, right? There's these like brownish tones. Okay. I think you could pick up some of the red like in the metal, you know, like certain areas you could give that hint of that red reflection in there. Things like here, right? Not too much because you don't want it to like really overpower, but you can pick up some of these like these little bits of color and stuff from the environment or surrounding objects. Okay, like here on the spear, like there's like put some red from him like reflecting in the spear here, you know, like even if it's just a subtle touch, right? And then like play around with some other slight coloration, right? So IMOs, you know, like instead of just grays, like you can, these are like really subtle touches, guys. So it's like just this little bits of color here and there. Like look at the base. The base has this like beautiful greens and blues and lilac, purples and things. Like you can pick up some of this like greenish tone from the base and put that in the weapon too, right? Like we can shift some of this color a little bit so it's not just like flat gray, right? And it'll make your metallics like way more interesting. Okay, next thing is like the actual goblin. It's pretty good, but also a little. Actually, let's talk about the gold real quick. So the gold, I think you could add a little bit of orange or something from, again, the guy's gonna like reflect in this thing, right? The squig, like put some orange reflections in there, you know? Basically what I'm getting at is like don't be afraid to like play around with the color in your metallics a little bit. They'll make them way more exciting looking. Okay, it's everything right now is very linear, and you can really like even like choosing to saturate certain areas more. Metallics when they reflect themselves, right? So anywhere where there's like like parts of the metallic that looks like they're facing other parts of that same object, right? So the gold where it looks like it would reflect itself, like it gets more saturated. So you tend to get colors like this, right? So you get some more intense color, and then areas where now it's like, okay, this stuff is reflecting the environment. That's when you get these more like desaturated, these more desaturated colors, because the, you know, the ceiling or whatever is of the scene is more grayish. Okay, so introduce some nuance there. You also have a tendency to, he's really smooth actually, or like, well, not really smooth, but he's quite smooth and blended. I think maybe the fabric here is a little rough. It's like probably rendered a little too similar to the armor, so I maybe would have tried to been a little more smooth with the fabric to not like, you know, just to have another textural contrast between the armor. And then I probably would have tried to add just a bit more color to the skin. And get, he's like, most of his head here is in light, but just push just a bit of color tonality back into the skin as to not like lose some of this, right? You highlight so much, but then you get like some of that color starts to get lost. Even if it's just like some soft filtering, right? Okay, makes sense. I don't know if you were even here. Cragzog's normally in the chat, but something along those lines. The base is cool. I like it. It's very neat. Probably want to highlight here. Just a little something. Got it. You are here. These look undone also. They're hiding in the black background, but they look, now that I'm zooming in, some of these parts look a little unfinished. Yeah, so just play around. Play around with the color a little more, you know? Let's see how much of a difference it really makes, like here. Oh. It's particularly like the gold mask, like how much more interesting, like color interest the gold mask introduces. Like, yeah, maybe I'd have to push the shadows a little bit more in some areas to like restore some of the deep shadows of it, right? The deep dark reflections, but helps draw some attention and give that splash of color. Hi, Michael Paints Minis. All right, let's do one more real quick, and then I'll take a... Unless the next one is going to be a lot of talk, but where am I? This lady, Andrew. I'm looking for feedback on the Paragon Warsuit. I am attempting to have a bright halo light from above, well, a bright halo light from above the face and an environmental light from the viewer's right. It is a part of an ongoing project, and I'm trying to use lighting as a cohesive theme between the models. Okay. I don't know quite what that means. A bright halo light? Anybody help me out here? Like a spotlight on the head? A spotlight on the top. Okay, that's sort of what I thought was going on. So a spotlight from the top and then a general light source from the right. Okay. I mean, I think the spotlight kind of generally works. I think it's more obvious here, right? I think it's more clear here that there's this like pretty strong spotlight. This I can't tell at all just because of this weird photo angle. But okay, so it's like this warmer light from above and then like a colder. I don't really see the secondary light source though. Of environmental light from the viewer's right. Anyone? Am I crazy? Is it just me? Is there OSO? Where? Okay, well, if there's some sort of secondary light source, then I'm not seeing it. Okay, I get the like environmental light. All right, that makes sense. Okay, let's real quick. How do we make this more interesting? Okay, because right now I think the one figure you did was a pretty good example. Okay, but this one I don't think it plays quite as well, and I think the reason for that is because you've put so much light. I feel like you're being way more general with the light source on this one as opposed to the single figure one where you really like played into the fact that it's like as this figure gets lower down, like everything just gets darker. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do it with the airbrush. The airbrush, right? So what we can do is just kind of like, I think you should just darken some of this down, right? Like if you want it to have this spotlight feeling, you have to really sell that like this is coming from like right in the middle, right? See the difference? So it's like by reducing the legs and some of these lower parts, we've made it much more like from above, okay? Or at least like head on, right? Now you've got this like OSL here, or this metallic reflection here and this metallic reflection here, and they don't really line up, so you probably want to consider like pushing some of this light more here, right? So like there should probably be a bigger reflection kind of in this area. I don't know how quite how this is shaped without seeing it in hands. But I would try and like, yeah, lean into the fact that like some of this stuff, like push the light towards her face more, right? Even the metallic reflections. Okay. Like here on the shoulders, push the light a little more centralized. This is quite good, but centralized, right? Okay, so the difference between this and this, right? So we're just further reinforcing that that focus like towards the middle, okay? Then if you're gonna do a like secondary reflection, right? You have this like cold yellow sort of tone. We're gonna do this real quick. No, it's fine. Then like, I don't know what color you want to use. Something like a deep blue or whatever, something like this kind of like cold blue sort of tone. Then you can come in and like you know, like make it its own thing, right? If you need to like define some things a little bit more. Dobby lol. Hello. Thanks for the 2 months. Okay. So, like anything, if you're going to do this sort of effect or any kind of effect like this, right, you really have to push that effect. You have to like, you can't just, you got to lean into it. And here, I think you did a great job leaning into it. I also read more of that cold light on this one, this like sort of turquoisey light. So, and like, I feel like the warms are warmer on, the warm lights are warmer on this one too. It's like almost shifts to like this slightly orangish tone, right? So I think the thing I'm really seeing on her is that you're not like leaning into that warm cold enough, and you're not focusing the light enough, right? Okay, I'm gonna take a quick little break. I'll be right back, and then we will continue on. So Ethan's been working on his bust from Thibaut's workshop or class. I've painted this lady. Okay, pretty good so far. Couple things immediately stand out to me. First thing is I'd like a little more light on the armor. I don't feel like you're pushing the lights quite as far as you could based on the lighting on the face. Second thing is a bit of the hands are maybe too sharp. Like there's the like knuckle, the bones between the knuckles are a little too much. And the last thing is like some of the expression of the face is also a little too chiseled and angular. Okay. So, all right, I like the shapes. Shapes are cool. Love some good shapes on metal. All right, so let's just push the light. Let's take this and let's go up even more. Okay, something like this. Right. Push that light a little bit on the metallic here. Did I get disconnected again? Am I good? Am I live? Type 1 in chat if I'm live. Thank you. Okay. Then a little bit of more gray. Some of this line is too sharp. You don't need this sharp of a line here to show this edge. Okay. You just need a line, right? It doesn't need to be like, doesn't need to be quite that much, right? And we can darken some of this down a little bit, restore some of that shadowy feeling that you got, and then now we've like shiny metal, right? Like, let's look at the difference. Okay, this kind of flat, this shiny, right? Okay, next thing, face. Or let's do hand. Let's look at the hand. Okay, this same deal over here. Soften this out a little bit, right? So this is just a little, just a touch too much. Like you don't really have that deep of a crease here. So just soften this just a touch. Knock that down just a little bit. These ones towards the bottom, this one towards the bottom is fine. Like it might be at that correct angle to get, but even then, I mean, it's standing out a little too much, okay? So something like that, right? I'm gonna look at the two, which hand looks more natural, right? Back of the hand, this back of the hand feels a little more natural, right? Oops. And then on the face, okay, so your shadows are coming down a little too far. We need to think about, like, if the light's coming from this direction, the lower part of the chin would be a little more shadowed, be a little more shadow right here, a little more shadow on the side of the face, probably this like eye socket, right? Side of the head, slightly more shadow. So like that side plane of the face gets a little more shadowed. And then this, we gotta soften some of this. So like this crease here is too much. Probably the whole side of the nose needs to come up just a little bit. And this smirk is okay, but it's a bit much. I would grab kind of this mid-tone here and sort of soften some of this out just a little bit, and then raise some of the light on the jaw just a little bit here. Okay. Soften that just a touch. Right. This smirk is like crazy. It's probably a little too intense. Like she looks like dang near evil. This little light here is like a little bit more rounded. And then we can like put that smirk back in if you want that little bit of dimple. Okay. Push this light. This light's good. There we go. The light on the forehead is not like a dot. It's like more like a line like this. So it should sort of connect with that brow a little bit more. And then this light here on this part of the brow is a little more connected. Okay. Yeah, just get this triangle a little better. All right, so she's not like that line before this. Can you guys see this line? This, hold on. This line right here. Right. It's too chiseled, like it's too angular for her face. Okay. A little more of this. Oop. Go back. Yeah, we want to get this cheek. There we go. Okay. So, I think that will help out. And then, yeah, like, this needs to also be reflected, like, you know, some of these areas you need to push the light a little bit more here, like on this, like that guy, you can really like push the light like on that whole shape. Something like that. Okay. Cool. Any questions? I don't know. I think Ethan's probably working or something, but maybe a little bit more light on the hair. Okay. Noah, I know you looked at this at MSTA, but I didn't get a chance for feedback. Particularly interested in overall mood and lighting. Mood is quite cool. Don't love the backdrop because, or like the background you used for the photo. Really, it didn't actually save? That's weird. It normally always says that and then saves anyways. And also, why do I only have 10% battery left? Is my iPad not actually charging? Now it's charging. Did it save that time and just said it didn't? No? Great. What's happening? Come on. Gonna save this one? There we go. So, yeah, the background's a little noisy, so it makes some of this stuff hard to see. I like the metallic like texture. The browns and stuff work really well. The shield's pretty cool. I will say I don't particularly love these orcs. I find them so lanky and busy. Like they're so noisy that I find them kind of hard to see what's going on. I like the shield quite a bit. Like it's got a bit of this David Soper kind of vibe. Like I think you got this kind of David Soper look going on. I think here on the shield, or like the shoulder pad in particular, like you could have done a little bit better job like defining these rivets. So like pushing the light around these like riveted things a little more, so they're a little more defined, like the edge slightly more defined, so I can read the shape a little better. Right? Especially on like parts back here where like now I'm really losing like what is the geometry of this thing. I don't know where like any of the spikes end and begin. It's like the geometry of this whole thing just gets kind of lost. But I think like the overall lighting and like colors and stuff work really well. I did see this in hand. I know like that it's quite well done. We awarded like his whole display, but this yeah, just try and push some like here. I feel like on this thing is like more clear and more defined, where some of this stuff is like starting to get a little lost. Okay, so face is nice. Yeah. Also, don't love when models cover like the entire front of the model. Like, look how much more is going on the back of the model than on the front. Like, when you know 80% of the model is covered. Okay, we'll say 50%. Like 50% of the model is covered with his shield. You know, it can be really difficult to see what the heck is happening on the model. Back looks quite nice. I would have tried like making the stitching like a different color, like a lighter value to separate that. Some of the like the wrappings could be a little sharper. Some of the fabric also, the texture on the fabric is getting a little similar to the metal, but nice job in general. Like I feel like the orange, like this orangey red leather strap things like read really the clearest. Like they have really nice definition, and the base is cool too. And the metal is nice, but you have to, when you do this, like you need to make sure that there's other parts that are, you know, different, so that you can really like see the differentiation in elements. But yeah, just a weird, just a weird model. Yeah, and he's super closed off. He's just like, everything is like, just like this, right? He's just like so tucked in and closed. No, this is an interesting, like, this is an interesting topic of like model selection, because I'm sure there's one of these guys, like, that is not like this, you know, like one of these, whatever the heck orcs these are called. They're not oryx, but they're something else, right? I don't remember their names. I'm not a Age of Sigmar guy. I'm a 40K person, but yeah, I'm sure there's a guy that's more like open and you can see more of the model and stuff. Cool. Mouse Sam, my newest project I'm working and work right now. Currently standing on tack. Oh, like blue tack. Okay. And need grass tops. Would love any feedback. Okay. It needs grass tufts. I'm assuming like around the rocks. All right. So pretty good. Focus is pretty nice. Metals could be sharper. They're a little too chunky, right? Like the brush strokes is a little sharp. I know this thing's tiny, right? But you can paint tiny lines because I'm looking at it here, right? So like these lines are finer than the lines that you're painting on the metallic, like, and that you're painting on the fur. So you can paint smaller. So yeah, the metallic is just looking a little cruel boys. There we go. Thank you for someone telling me what the heck those are called. All right, so little thick on some of the line work on the metal. Also, don't love the texture on the rocks. Like it's like this like line stuff. I think. Let me grab a brush that's like texture brush. Can we do that? I don't know what the heck these are going to do. Painting. We got like a, you know, something a little chunkier. Fresco maybe. What's this going to do? Right, like. No, it's not doing it. I wanted like a sponge, but I don't know if there is like a sponge type brush in here. Organic? What's this gonna? I have no idea. There's so many like weird brushes. Materials, spray paints. Here we go. Let's get some splatter. All right. So like, right? These like dots and stuff. This is gonna feel way more like a rock than little lines, right? You can already see like that this is like what a more rocky surface will look like. Okay. Then play around with the color. Like now we can like, you know, if there's like a moss or something growing on it. Or like lichen and mold, stuff like that. So you can use like a sponge or something, or just paint like dots, but this, like, which one looks more rocky, right? Like this, where it's just like scratchy lines. D Moreno, thanks for the prime. Or, you know, this kind of splattery, dotty kind of effect, right? So play with the texture. Low battery. It keeps warning me low battery. Is it not charging again? It is charging, but for some reason it's like dying faster than it's charging. Annoying. It might be time to buy a new iPad. Okay. And then for painting, right? Like, just try and be a little bit smoother with some of this stuff. Right. Soften these transitions out a little more. Like here, you want this line work to like really like come up to the next volume. It's just a little too scratchy. Also, careful with this sort of thing here, like when you do this like red reflection, especially because like on this part of the armor here, this doesn't face towards the, not this whole lip faces towards the cloak, right? So not every part of this, and this would reflect the underside of the cloak, not really the top, so it wouldn't be like that dark, or it wouldn't be that bright red. So just try and be aware, like this belt reflection would be so small in this piece that it really wouldn't show up. I don't love, especially the small size in general, I say like I try not to do too much of like trying to reflect like the actual environment, right? You're trying to do this like really like chromey sort of effect. I want to reflect the impression of the environment and like other parts. I don't necessarily want to reflect like, I don't want to paint like an image of the environment in the armor. And I just want to give the sensation of the armor, right? And it's like, you're doing that, and then what happens here on the sword, right? Guys, what would this reflect? If you're trying to paint like the true reflection, like what is that? And if you were looking at him head on, how about right here? Would that reflect, is this reflecting the rock? Right? Would it reflect the rock right here? What would this piece of the sword reflect? It would indeed reflect the foot. Right? So shouldn't that be like that? And then what would all this stuff up here reflect? It would like reflect all this stuff that's in shadow back here. Right? So try and be cognizant of like what you're reflecting. Why is this reflecting like bright white? If this is reflecting the ground, you know, and also this part of the rock here probably would only be a very small section of the sword, so you probably get more like browns and things like the forest and stuff like reflecting in the sword down here. So you have to like think about not just like what's on the figure and on the base, you have to think about like what's all out here, you know, like what is around the model, right? And all those things also need to be taken into account. Like, is he in a forest? Well, if he's in a forest, like, then there should probably be some, like, deep greens and stuff reflected in the metal, you know? So, I'm giving the sensation, right? I'm not trying to paint, like, a true perfect representation, because you're never going to get it to where it works perfectly, right? Okay. This is nice. This should be more pink. Also, why is his eyes like glowing red? I mean, are they actually glowing, or are they like... are they just albino eyes, right? Like this also makes it more defined and clear that there's eyes there, you know? Like why is there all this pink? This is more clear that like that's his eyes. Okay, so chill. My advice to you is chill on the like the fanciness. Okay, just paint sharp and like defined, right? Ginger Bat, you're back again. I've seen this thing already. The base is cool. I would paint the base a little bit, right? Like put some more color on some of this like mossy stuff. It's like a little much right now. I also don't love that I can see like where you've ground into the base. I would push this out a little more so that like here where it's like spilling over the edge of the plinth, I would do that on all these areas where I can see like where you've ground into the plinth. I would also probably put like a couple little more small plants like this fern, not like too big, but like maybe just a couple more little leaves and things. I like the big leaf he's sitting on. That's really cool. I think he did a pretty good job. I think this thing could still be a little sharper, right? We talked about like creating that line work. Some of the lines are like a little thick. But the actual like skin and stuff is pretty good. Figure I don't have too much to say. I've seen it. I've seen this already. Show me new stuff. Any pops of color for the base are better to leave it green and not draw it. Yeah, I mean, you could like throw in little bits of purple here and there. Like you could put like a little flower or something that's like got similar tones to him, like these sort of magenta leaves or something like that, just to get a little bit of that color in there. But yeah, it definitely is like it's a little too much of just this like big mossy clump, right? Like a bit more varied foliage would help out. And yeah, clean this up. I don't like seeing the like where you took a Dremel or whatever and like hacked into this thing. It makes it not super clean edge, right? So try and cover that. Back looks pretty good. This is a little thick back here. Don't quite understand why he's got like a light outline to his dark splotches, and then it's like lighter in the middle of the dark splotches. So it's like, it must be like he has like a map drawn on his back instead of like a discoloration patterning. You know? Yeah, it's just, I don't want to like repaint it like some toads. I mean, I would look at like actual frogs or toads to see like what kind of maybe there is one that has something like this, but this doesn't read very natural to me at the moment. It's like he's got these 5 big splotches, right? And then like a bunch around the edge that are all the exact same size, and like they don't space out further from there. So it's a little weird. Okay. I don't want to see him again. Show me new stuff. All right, James Dean. Colin. Thank you for the feedback on my shiv. I was hoping to get some time to give some advice on this guy. I don't think I'm getting the volumes right around the mouth. Not sure the values are quite right either. Any help would be appreciated. Okay. Did I save it? I don't even know. Yeah, I did. In general, it's going pretty well. Around the mouth. His mouth is pretty crazy. Okay. So the lighting is kind of in like above and in the center, right? So yeah, he's got a lot of light like on the center of his face. Let's take this. Right. So what I want to see here is like, is this a cast shadow? Like what's going on with his nose? Is it supposed to be a cast shadow? Is this a cast shadow? Like what's happening here? How much of this is like the camera also? I feel like I'm getting a little bit of effect from the camera also, but like the actual lighting. Essentially, yeah, I mean, this is correct. These are the dark spots, right? You've got that right. This should be probably not quite this dark. This is a little too much. This should kind of like fade away as it comes down. There should be light like in the Cupid's bow here, unless you're doing a cast shadow. The mouth shape here, the light like comes across the front of the mouth, and this kind of connects into the corner of the mouth. The chin is would be a little bit lighter. This should probably also catch light over here, right? Then you want the highlight on the actual like upper lip. And you can soften this out once it's right. So you kind of draw it, and then you soften it back in, like you blend it back in together to reduce that. The lip should be like rounded. Technically, there's like shapes to the lip. Okay, let me draw lips. Okay. So there's kind of there's four shapes, right? Like if we draw a mouth, right? I think there's really like five, but one of them can be split sometimes. Okay, so this is sort of the shape of a mouth. You have like a shape here, a shape like this, a shape like this, and then you have these like two little ones on the side. And then this all sort of connects. Let me draw another color on top. Let's go like magenta so you can see it. And then when you draw this on top, it goes like this, right? And there's like a shape here, and then this goes over like that. And then this comes up, in, right? So that's sort of the shape. And these catch light, and then the center of this catches light. Now some people have like the little line that goes like in the middle of their lower lip. Okay, and then you have the Cupid's bow up here, and then the nose and everything happens, and then there's these shapes that connect to the side of the mouth, right? But it's basically like this shape here, right? So this is spherical, right? And it dips down and out and back up like this, and then these muscles here on the side of the mouth like cut in. So the lips don't go all the way, like these lips go all the way to the edge, right? Like the upper lip, this one tends to like tuck in a little more to the mouth, so it doesn't like connect all the way to the edge, right? The regular skin starts to like cut back. Why does it keep doing that? It is charging again. I'm so annoyed with this thing. I was at 100% earlier. Okay. So, on this guy, right? We need this shape to cut back in, right? So that that skin starts to go away, right? And then we can grab this lighter skin tone and like bring this out and connect this. Okay, something like that. This also tends to go higher. It tends to go like up into the corner of the nose, like the side of the nose. It'll actually like, if you see it from the side, it'll actually like wrap around over the nostril a little bit. This is a little more shaped, like it's a little more rounded shaped. This line doesn't go out quite that far. It's a little more like this. So it's like this line kind of comes down, and then you often get highlights like in that shape, right? And then they kind of bridge each other. But it's actually pretty subtle. Okay. Don't know what's happening here on the side of the head. The values are a little weird on over on the side. Like, should be a little more. And my iPad died. Fantastic. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna take a 5-minute break while I go charge my iPad on a faster charger, and then hopefully it turns back on. It's quite warm at the moment also. So I'm going to take another short break while I go try and make this thing work. Stream's just technical difficulties tonight, right? It's just going fantastic. So I'll be back in a few minutes while I try and fix this thing. Oh, cool. It just turned back on and now it says it has 7%, even though it just died. Hey, look at that. All right. So side of the head here. Get these values a little more midtones, right? They still face sort of upwards. Try and get the side of the jaw here a little bit, probably on the side of the face here, right? Often you'll get a little bit of light here on the like upper eyelid. Okay, and then probably want to like push some light on the neck here a little bit more, depending on like the shape of the shadow and like what the position of the light is and like how above the light source is, right? So you can go quite dark here, separate the neckline, but then you want a bit of light like on the actual like neck down here. Okay. I think that's the big things I see. So avoid whatever this like weird gray is that's like getting a little matte and whatever. Like try and fix that up a little bit. All right. And then one last little thing, the nose tends to have, because the nose has more oil in it, you tend to get a sharper highlight in the nose, like that. And then you can even push like a little bit of highlight on the cheeks, just a touch more. Okay, maybe slightly softer than that. Alright, something along those lines. Not even, nope. Purple. Hi. And Jolene Daniel. Hello. Welcome. Oh, this on the eyes. I noticed this. So this is a little weird. When you're doing the eyes, you get the cornea right here, right? Okay. Don't put the white of the eye like right in the middle of it. I try and get it like slightly off to the side. Okay. So it's like you don't want it right in the center of the black. And you can like try and round it over just a little bit if you want, depending on the size of the bust. But yeah, don't put it like right smack dab in the middle of the eye socket. Okay. And then a little bit of the lips tend to be slightly wet, so you get a little bit more highlight in the middle of the lip there. All right. Okay. Calming down. Craigler, you submitted something this week already. Come on. You get that's next week, bro. Twinguistics. Hi, Eric. Love your work. Feedback Friday streams. Can I get feedback on this guy, please? It's for competition. Probably Finn in the UK. I'm shooting for my first bronze or above. No, you're shooting to do your best. And that's all that matters. Okay. Please just tell me what you see, but note the hands and arms aren't quite done yet. Okay, hands and arms aren't quite done. All right. So, save this bad boy. Okay, so some stuff is pretty nice. Color scheme looks pretty good. Model's probably a little blown out. I'm guessing the lighting is kind of blown out here because, like, I really doubt that this black is this light. I'm not getting, like, black levels. Hold on, let me see if I can just adjust it real quick. Curves. What if we just did this? I'm going to guess that like this is a little more accurate. Oh, look, you can see where the blacks are. Let's just, nope, cancel this. Undo. All right, curves. This is a histogram. And the histogram shows you where the black and white levels are. So really the black levels should be like here. See, can you see the little like where I'm moving this bottom one? You see that? So this where you see there's like these marks here at this little corner. That's where like true black is. So I'm gonna just slide that over to get it to true black. And I'm going to guess that this is more accurate to how this thing really looks. Okay. So, face, pretty cool. Robes. Some of the volumes of the robes are a little weird. Again, this is a thing I see quite a bit. And the beard, I think, is the two things that really need some work here. So, let's start with the robes, okay? You want to think about the volumes, right? Don't lose the overall shape, okay? His shoulder is rounded. Some of this stuff would be in light, all right? So, things that face upwards are going to be more in light, all right? You're so focused on individual folds that you lose the general shape of his arm when you paint like this. Okay, so we need to get like the general shape in, and then you can worry about individual folds. Always be thinking of the big forms first, then you can focus on small forms. All right, We can push it even maybe a little bit more than that. So like now you can start to like, okay, we'll add a little highlighting here on the shoulder, maybe a little highlight here on the cuff, right? Don't lose the general shape. Like where is this green coming from down here? Like you're just shading the valleys down here. Like this should not be quite so, like that I don't understand at all. Why this is turning red here. Like where did the green go? Where did the green shadows go in that section? All right, so okay, so focus on the overall shapes first. Okay, you can see the difference now, right? It's like this versus this. This has form and shape to it. Like you can see that his like shoulder has shape to it. Okay. Now the beard, same thing. This sculpt is so noisy, right? There's so much detail in this sculpt. We have to simplify. All right. So I'm gonna grab some of this like intermediate gray tone, probably not quite this blue, right? And I need to find like, what is the shape of his beard, right? It's a bit cylindrical or spherical here, okay? Similar to his head, right, is a little spherical. So we need to like think about like the general light and shape first to the beard, okay? So you need to create more light in this spherical. Don't worry about like every little individual strand right now. Okay? If you look at the way like canvas painters paint hair, they first focus on the larger forms, which is, we focus on the larger forms always, even when painting miniatures, right? Focus on the larger forms, get like the top of his mustache lighter, right? Okay, now we're starting to get some shape, right? Like you can see before and after, right? There's now some like shape to his beard, some like overall. Okay, now we can push the light a little bit more. And then you can start doing like, you know, more individual line work. Don't worry about going in the recesses when doing this sort of line work, right? Now we're painting the highlights and stuff, and we want to start to like pick out some more shiny parts to the beard. Don't do this. This is bad. Okay, look at me. Do I have a dark line that separates my beard? Right? Is there a dark line there? No, it's just skin into hair. Okay, this transition is softer than that. All right, so get rid of that dark line. What I often like to do is take some of the skin tone and actually paint it like over the beard. Right, so I'll actually paint it into the hair a little bit like that, and then I can take one of the lighter tones to the beard and like start to paint the lines so like that hair shows, that light like shows through, and it makes that transition much softer and more natural looking. Okay, so right, this is a general tip for you. Don't get lost in the details too early. Focus on the general shape of things. Okay? There's just way too much detail going on in the hair. Right now, when we look at the beard like this, right, there's like form and volume to the hair. Okay? This does not have form and volume. It's just individual like hairs. This has a overall shape to it. Okay? Hope that's helpful. Declan. Hi, Eric. I would like some general feedback on this whip. I have been experimenting with cast shadows and strong lighting. Thank you for being so kind at SMC or MFCA. Dang it. There I go being nice again. Gotta stop doing that. By the way, Declan is like 21 and has been painting for like a year and a half. The dude's gonna be a monster if he keeps going. We got another Jonas on our hands. Yeah, that was Eric with a C. He's the nice one. Jonas got some competition. All right, cool. Generally, looking pretty good. Metallics look quite nice. There's some weird stuff happening here with the change from light to shadow of the with the cast shadow on the apron. This one's also a little bizarre, but in general, I think it's working pretty well. So let's see what we can do. So first, let's do this, right? I like to check the values. You guys know I like to check the values without color. I think it helps you see sort of how it's working. So you can see here, this changes to this changes to this. So we've got this kind of shade of gray from the white, right? We'll say this is white, so it's moving that much. And then this is the light value of this blue is kind of here, so it's pretty dang light. And then it shifts to like down to here, right? It goes quite dark. Okay, so these two are changing that much. So I think this might be a little off. I think this is more accurate over here. So let's pull this value. See, this is a little lighter, right? So you want your shadows to match up, okay? So this is a shadow side over here, right? This is also in shadow. Just because this is a cast shadow does not make it any different than these shadows, okay? They're both shadows. All right? So, shadows are shadows. Doesn't matter whether they're cast shadows or form shadows. They're both shadows. All right? So, that means that your your cast shadow over here should probably be closer to this sort of blue, right? Instead of this like dark gray, it should probably be more in line with this kind of color. All right? And this shadow should match up with all these shadows, right? It gets very, like down here, it gets like black, right? Look what happens when I use the shadow color down here, right? Now it's like the same, it's the same as the gray, right? So this is too dark, okay? So you got to bring this up. And then what sort of color do we have? We've got this kind of like, this sort of grayish tone here. So that means this stuff needs to be like this tone, right? And that means these sections here need to also be like this. Okay, so shadows are shadows. That's the important thing to remember. It's like, it doesn't matter whether they're form shadows or cast shadows. There is no difference. They're just shadows. All right, so that should help you out a little bit there. Just think of them, they're the same thing, right? Okay, over here is a little bizarre because look what's happening here. Is this shadow, guys? Like the underside of the arm right here? This is shadow, right? This is all shadow down here. Anyone? Bueller? Can I get a confirmation? Seems to me. Yeah. So, who is that? Kasparov. We had Magnus Carlsen in earlier. Now we got Kasparov in here too. It's with all the chess players. Got famous chess players up in the stream. Okay, so shadows are shadows, right? So what is this? What's this line? No. If this is shadow, right? This is a shadow right here. This should be the same. Doesn't make sense for this to be darker, right? You can't make a shadow darker than it is, right? It's just either in shadow or it's not. Okay? So, don't do that. Where can we send pictures for feedback? You have to be a Twitch subscriber. All right. So if you are a Twitch sub and you join the Discord, you can link your Twitch account to your Discord account, and you will get access to the Feedback Friday channel. We are closed for submissions this week, but the next time you'll be able to do that. Okay, so that's the important thing, right? Shadows are shadows. Okay, the next thing is avoid this. Look, guys, look at this. I'm going to turn this off. Okay, turn back on the layer. Can you see here? You see that it's like slightly darker on the edge of that transition? Isn't there like a transition from deep shadow to mid-tone shadow? I might be talking my head. No, shadow is just shadow, okay? There are things that can make shadows deeper. There's like this thing, there's this like occlusion shadows, so you can have even darker shadows. Like my hand is in shadow right now, right? But my in between my fingers is even darker, right? These are occlusion shadows. But if I lay this hand on top, the shadow underneath my hand does not get darker, right? I can't like wrap the cast shadow of my hand. Here, let's change camera angle, right? In shadow, correct? Yes, this is all in shadow. I wrap my hand over top. Does the shadow underneath my hand change? Does it get darker? Can I cast a shadow on the underside of my hand with my other hand? No, I cannot. Okay, doesn't make sense, right? These two shadows just join and create one shape, okay? Now, this is another thing. This is called occlusion. Okay, it's a different concept, but is there a difference between shadow and light fall off? Yes. Yes, there is, actually. Light fall off is like the distance you are away from a light source, but if you're dealing with the sun does not have fall off. It technically does, but it is like 0.0000000 like lumens, like to some like crazy decimal point, right? Yeah, exactly. Most sunlight has fallen off by the time it gets to us. All right, so here's the deal, right? We're looking at this. This is the thing we're talking about. Okay, the shadow should not. This can happen just from like not like blending it properly. Try not to have this like dark shadow line. Like what can happen is you draw the shadow shape and then like you go to like blend it together and you lose that shape, right? If the light is coming in from the left, like more of this side of the arm should be in shadow. Okay. Something along those lines. In general, this stuff is going pretty well, right? I would also try and this to blend a little better. Probably like to see like a little bit of that green showing up there. Okay, also on the teeth, you want to make this way more exaggerated because we need the light to change the same amount, all right? So that means this is not nearly bright enough for the teeth. We want, if those parts of the teeth are in shadow, we need to make sure that like this side of the teeth that does catch the light are like nice and bright. Like this one might be blocked by the bigger tooth, but we can always cheat some light in there because we're illustrating, so we can do what we want. Because right, so you can do stuff like that. You want to like silhouette those teeth more, you know. And then even like maybe there's some bounce light or something that hits those teeth like that. Okay, this is all pretty nice. It's a little weird how this hand is like very pink and this one is like more desaturated purpley sort of feeling. Like this does not feel like this. Okay, so colors are a little off here. This still feels wrong to me. There's like something up with his arm. Like I feel like more of this should be in shadow if the light is really coming in from like pretty harshly to the side, but it could just be me and not seeing the figure quite at like the right correct angle. But yeah, I feel like there should be a little more shadow on that side of the arm. Yeah. Pretty good, man. Keep pushing. You're doing well. You're doing good. Paint that chicken. Nice. Don't forget the leather also has like shadow and shape to it too. Don't just focus on the the texture, right? Like this has form and shape also. Okay. Nice job. Richard. Hi, Eric. Just started sketching all of this. Just asking for overall feedback. Direction as I know it's rough. Okay, here's what I'm going to ask you, Richard. This is, obviously it's still sketched. Crucial Blue, hello. Welcome. Thanks for the raid. Welcome in. So, I want to ask you a question. What is this? What is the storytelling with the shield? Is it red paint? Is it... okay, so it's paint. All right, so this is paint. And then I'm assuming this is the same up here. There's like red paint, okay? Well, paint flakes and chips, right? So, where does paint chip most? Yeah, right now it looks kind of like blood spatter. Paint would not chip off this fast, okay? So if we're going for paint, we need to we need some more paint for one, okay? Like it wouldn't wear off that much. That's like crazy, the level of wear that has, okay? So something like this, right? Now we come back. Can I get any cool texture work in here? Grit roll. Let's see what this does. All right, so what we want, I don't know what the heck this pen is going to do. This is weird, right? We want to focus on edge, right? Any sort of like edges, right? So things like the paint's going to wear from outside in like spots that it gets like hit, okay? So the paint's first going to chip from like the edges of the planks, okay? Things like that. And then paint's going to chip when someone like hits the shield, right? So like it's going to take chunks out of the shield, whatever, right? So anywhere where it's like been smacked or whatnot, then you're going to have like bigger chips like that. And then you're going to have smaller like chunks where it like starts to flake off. So is it rubbing off or flaking off, right? We got to think about that, right? So you get like, really should have like the color of the wood. Like if there's a big chunk taken out right here and it's flaking away, right? You can do this with a sponge, but be like a little heavier with it, like a little larger, right? But then, does the paint have like dimension to it? So now we can do stuff like come back and go like, okay, well there needs to be like a little outline around these chips. Right? You can see like how like people that do tanks do like salt weathering and stuff. Okay. So they do stuff like that to like thinner than that, but and then you can take like a light version of the color, whatever it is. So some sort of highlight color. You can create like a little edge to the paint to give it like some dimension, right? Hello, Crucial Blue. Thanks for following. Okay. So you want to think about like creating dimension and story to like what is going on here. It's not just like rubbed off over time. It's like he's painted his shield and it's been like, what has caused the paint to chip off? Is it like wet? It's not like a barn, right? A barn, the paint just like over time gets beat by the wind and like it's just like the rain and everything, and it starts to flake off and just wear off, right? Slowly over time, and you get a more consistent, like even wear across like a barn. His is like a door, or like it's like a shield, right? So the edges, right? The perimeter of the shield's gonna wear first. Anywhere that's raised is gonna like get rubbed against things and wear first, and then anywhere it's like got smacked or like nicked, chopped, right, where he blocked a swing, that's gonna get that's gonna wear faster. So you need to be thinking about like what is causing the wear, right? Okay, storytelling, right? These are storytelling elements. Okay. As far as like lighting position, not bad. You probably need to centralize some of these things. Like, so the light here probably needs, it's like too far top right. Probably need to come a little more towards the middle, right? Based on like the lighting on the skin. Okay, you probably want to come a little more middle with some of your light reflections, like just based on the belt here, right? So that light is going to be a little more centralized. Right, something like that instead. Fabric and stuff is all right. I would like to see this sketch more advanced than here, but like Yeah, think about the storytelling, okay? This is like important. I think these are things like people don't consider that much, okay? But they inform you on like how it should be painted, you know? I would maybe consider changing this piece here from his actual, like from this piece, maybe a different color, something to separate them a little bit, but okay. I hope that's helpful. In terms of like the sketch, like keep going. Yeah, it's still really early for me to like critique very specific things, you know? All right. Spilbo Baggins. What can I do to improve this? Okay. Let's find out what we can do to improve this. May I introduce you to the glorious thing of dark lining. In a model like the pig, is there any difference in priming dark brown and then adding dark black shadows, or priming black and then building up from there? I typically don't paint directly over top of black. The only thing I paint directly over top of black is metallics. I find it easier to start from black than to try and start from like gray, but typically I start from a zenithal, and then often I will spray like a color filter over top of the zenithal to give myself like a general starting point. Yeah, dark lining will, like, cleanliness here is like the thing. Like, this stuff's pretty clean. There's some chunky bits, but like overall not too bad in terms of this. But like I look at this and it's like, where's the edge on this thing, you know? Like, where's the line that separates? Okay, here we go again with the like really overly dark, like pushing contrast a little too much on certain things. Like, these pants don't need to be that black and they don't need to be that white. Okay, this is maybe a little much. Something in between. Like, that still works as a highlight. And then, yeah, separating, right? Where's the line that separates his sash from his stomach? You know, there should be something there. This one might be hard to see because it'd be like tucked in, but like this, clean this up, right? I've completely lost the shape of these things, right? It should be something like this. I hate painting bandages. There's only one thing I dislike more than painting bandages, and that's painting feathers. But yeah, I'm losing the shape here. So, okay. So, just a general cleanliness thing, right? Like, create some separation in this stuff. Right now it's got shape. Or definition. Oops, I've been drawing on the wrong layer. Whoopsie. Some shadows on the face here. Right, I don't really have too much shape detail on the face. Like, I want some like shadows under here, some shadows. Like, there should be like a pretty good sized shadow underneath his chin and underneath his lip. Would you blackline at the end, or would you try and keep your shadows in those lines from the start? A lot of times I'll blackline later, before like it's like, I don't want to say at the end, but like after the sketch, right? So like I will sketch and then refine, and black lining is part of the refinement stage. Okay. Like, I don't have any shape on this. Could be sharper. Hair is like pretty rough here. I'd like to have some more like flow to this. Non-metallic's not bad, but like, why is this line just stop? So I think what's going to help you out a lot is just general like cleanliness stuff, okay? Like just the refinement stage. Also, this is very bizarre. I'm going to show you something real quick in terms of volumes. It is very odd that you have light on the center in front of his chest here, and then the brightest part of his shoulder is on top of his shoulder, right? So like there's light here and the light on the back of his hand, but then there's like this and his bicep are kind of the same. I'm not even going to get into like, yeah, like this could be better, right? Like the eyes could be better, but we got to deal with some bigger things first, okay? Right, so if the light's here, well, the shoulder is shaped like this. This is a similar shape, right? So we need like the light of his shoulder should match. So like this should probably be a little bit darker, right? And there should be some light on his shoulder. There should probably be some light on his bicep. Okay, there would even be like a little light here on his stomach, like, and then you can push some highlights a little more forward, a little highlight on his bicep, a little highlight here, right? So it's like, even just the quick sketch, like which one makes more sense to the lighting, right? So this is, okay, I want to like specify something. And I feel like I talked about this in the last stream when I was doing the North Wind. Okay, sketch does not necessarily mean rough. It means like it's just a stage, right? Like you could. This is why I like to say like blocking in. Okay, because I'm not necessarily like, it's not refined, but it doesn't mean that it has to be like rough and scratchy and all these things. Like it could be, a sketch could also be like blocky, right? It could be like big thick brush strokes, right? Like the big thick brush strokes is not like scratchy, right? Like scratchy, like this, before I did the lines, right? This looks scratchy, right? Or if we go back to, sorry, I'm gonna getting called out. We were way back. Where were we? Where's the mouse? All right, before we did this, right? This is scratchy. Yeah? Yeah, I still focus on opacity. I'm trying to cover the primer. I'm trying to get like layers down. This is why I start with like thicker paint. But sketch does not have to mean like scratchy rough, right? It can mean just like a starting point, you know? What is the definition of sketch? Sketch is just like quick, right? What is the literal definition of sketch? A rough or unfinished drawing or painting. Okay? So rough in this term doesn't mean like literally like rough in terms of like texture. Yes, kind of like alla prima. But do you know what alla prima means? It means all at once. Yeah. Unfinished is the better way to say, like, refer to a sketch, right? Doesn't necessarily mean scratchy or like texturally rough. It just means unfinished. It's just a starting point. Okay? As opposed to, like, I get this sense that people, and when they hear sketch, they think of, like, you see people, you ever see people draw? You ever see anybody draw like this? Like, instead of, I could draw a sketch of a face, right? I'm going to draw a sketch of a face. This is a smiley face. Yeah? This is a sketch. Hi, I'm a guy. There, I drew a sketch. Right? It's rough. But it's got, like, the basic shapes in, right? You ever see anybody sketch like this? Like, sketch when they draw, and they draw like this? Instead of drawing, like, I drew one line to do the shape of his jaw, and they draw like this. You know what I'm talking about? You ever seen anybody do that? It's like you just made 900 lines to just what you could have just done that. Right? This is like scratchy. Okay? This is bad practice in drawing too. You shouldn't do this like in drawing either. Right? This is a personal attack. You should feel attacked. Yep. Okay? This is bad practice. Don't do this. Okay? Sketch. Alright. Alright. I'm gonna leave that in the picture. And he's gonna be like, what the heck is this? Well, I see people do it on their painting also. Right? Beyond actual, like, illustration drawing. Like, I see people do it with their painting too. Baby stapler. I like your thoughts on this overall piece. This is for tabletop. I was going for a tetrad color scheme. You guys know what tetrad means? The following colors: turquoise, red, orange, purple, and yellow. Okay? Back of the wings and underside of the dragon are ochre yellow. Okay. Light is coming from the first picture on the left. And oh my god, dude. Alright, baby stapler. Okay. Are you here, baby? Baby? Baby, are you here? Tetris, huh? Where does the term Tetris come from? Tetradic means four, because every shape in Tetris is 4 blocks, right? So tetradic means 4 colors. Okay, it's a X on the color wheel, basically. Baby, you got it right. Too complex. There's you got too many ideas you're trying to execute at the same time. Simplify, dude. Okay, cool. You're trying to do a tetradic color scheme. Nice. Great. Okay, that makes sense. You're thinking about it. You don't need to go like, I'm going to do a primary light. It's a tabletop figure, all right? You don't need secondary light sources and all these other things. Just keep it simple, okay? Keep it simple. Get the principles in. Foundations, right? They're so important, guys. Okay? There's just like... Like, if you're doing 2 lights, I don't know why there's like... Okay, sure. This doesn't make sense. The wings would not be like 2 different colors from the front and back like that. The membrane, All right. All right, let's go back to this. This color scheme works, okay? It works. I see. I'm not really I know you said orange. I'm not really picking it up. And also your yellow and your orange are kind of too similar, right? So what do we really have? Like, where's the yellow? I'm not getting yellow anywhere. Okay. I'm getting yellow as in like this yellow orange, right? This is like a yellow orange sort of color. Okay. So let's simplify. Okay. Simplify. We've got this color. Okay, that works as a nice accent color to the armor. And then we've got this like turquoisey blue. Okay, cool. Yeah, this works as a secondary color. Okay, and then what's our last color? We've got purple. And purple, maybe if we shift it slightly more magenta-y. Right, now we've got like a triadic sort of color scheme going on. You don't even need yellow. Like yellow could, in this case, could mean like I'm not picking up really any of this. This would be like the opposite color. It would be like this bright yellow, and like I could see it a little bit in the base, maybe like a really desaturated version of that, but I'm not picking up too much of that. Okay, so it also, if like a color is so desaturated, like if you want to think of the skull as like a yellow, right? But even this is in your orange tones, this like yellow orange sort of color. So just simplify. All right, next thing. Too much white. You're pushing, again, general shapes, guys. General shapes. This is way too much highlights, okay? This wing does not need to be this highlighted, all right? So I'm going to take a color like this, and I'm going to tone it down, all right? Bring the color back. Stop painting all the way to like white. You don't need to highlight that much on parts that are not like metallic shiny. Okay, this still works as a highlight color. Like this still functions as a highlight color without being like screaming in your face pastel pink, like lavender. Okay, that still totally works. And I did the thing where I drew directly on top of the image. Okay, so simplify. Okay, let's get this stuff blended in. Yeah, I suggest learning to use a pen wash or something to get some of these darker parts of the scales. You can also do it a bit on the wings, right, to get some of those in there. Okay, and then how can we make this more interesting? You take maybe some of that purple color and you use something in between like this blue, and then we can like share a shadow color between the two. So it's like so we start to shift this purple like a little more cold in the shadows, and then you know what? We use that same sort of bluish tone to shadow the dragon also. Right? So we have this like consistent tone between the two. Okay? Simplify. Cool model. Dark lining. Yeah. All right. Base is neat. Like that. Okie dokie. I swear. I don't want to see this model anymore. Why you guys submit the same models all the time? I know there are a lot of entries today, but I finished just in time for feedback Fridays and would love to hear your thoughts. Oh, you're going to get thoughts. Last time I didn't get the white balance right. That's why it was all kind of purple. Okay. Looks good, man. Came out nice. Axe looks really good. Face looks good. Like the hairs. Nice shape to the hair. Knuckles are maybe like a little dark too pink. Don't really understand this purple reflection on the... So you've got this green reflection here, but then this like really intense purple reflection here that doesn't quite show up on any of the other metal. Like I would expect if that's there, then it would probably also show up on like his knuckles and stuff. So I would probably eliminate that. That's fine. You've got purple coming in from the other side, but like the only spots I see any purple showing up is like a little bit on his neck, a little tiny bit on his face, and then like there's like this big splash of purple on that one shoulder pad. So that shape doesn't really make sense. Here, I will do it for you just to show you. I don't know what the heck that was, but okay. This too much. Yeah, grab some color that you've already got over here. That purple doesn't really make sense there. It's probably also a little too much right here, because I don't see, like, okay. If this is your main view and there's purple here, right? Where's the purple here? Where's the purple here? Where's the purple, right? Like, this is the stuff you guys got to think about when you do these sorts of backlighting things, right? When these little bits of this is fine, like there's just this tiny bit creeping around, you know? But like if that's there, then it should be. Right, let's really like kind of show. I'm gonna overdo it so you can see. Right, if there's this like rim light of purple, where's the purple here? Where's the purple here? Where's the purple here? Okay, this is making sense. I can kind of see some on the axe there, but then there'd be some here and here, right? So this is what I'm saying, like, when you do this sort of effect, right, like, you need to be thinking about, like, okay, well, if it creeps around, like, that it's got to be consistent, or else the illusion sort of starts to fall apart, right? So be really careful when you do this kind of stuff, okay? It can quickly get, like, out of hand, and then it's like that little tiny bit right there creeping in on his face and on his shoulder pad, right? That's enough to like mess up this illusion, you know? So really it should probably just be some shadow color. Make another layer, right? It should probably just be like this. And then that purple then shows up from the side, from the other side. I'll redraw this because I drew purple all over everything. Get rid of this. Make sense, guys? Okay, you following? You follow me? Little too intense here. Soften this out a little bit. Okay, tone that back a little bit. Probably a little too much back here also. Spellbow Baggins, thanks. Thanks for tier 1. Okay. Even this, like this blue, that's a lot of blue, man. That is like really reflecting. So like you got it showing up in the white, but like that means that it needs to show up here and here and here. This is the thing you got that people run into, right? When they're like, I'm gonna get fancy. And it's like, okay, cool, you're gonna get fancy, but if you screw up the fancy, like, it's way easier for me to pick apart like where you messed up on the fanciness than if you just if you hadn't had done it in the first place, right? Like this is also gray. Well, it should probably be a little darker because this tan is not going to reflect as much of the blue, but you know, it's there, so why isn't it showing up? All right, makes sense. Yes. I'm gonna turn into evil Eric, okay? I'm gonna turn into Eric with a C. Little Jekyll and Hyde transformation as I start to get worked up. Right? Just keep that in mind. That like, yeah, if you put that somewhere, it has to show up. No. That's the real answer. Neither of us are. Neither are the nice one. Was it the episode? You guys see that? You guys ever watch Ted Lasso? Where he's like Led Tasso or something like that, and he just goes out being a jerk. Yeah. Anyways, that's what we're talking about. So, if you do something, you got to do it. You can't just like kind of do it, right? You really got to nail it, or else it doesn't really make sense. Your eye catches the things that you're like, well, there's something weird there. The back is pretty cool, right? But even this, there's probably some parts that I could like pick at. This is rough, dude. Clean that up. Can't ignore that just because it's the back of the model, all right? That hair does not look finished. Okay. Suki, we already did you, Suki. It's cool. You can't get one past me. We looked at it. We looked at one. This is nice, though. It's coming along. Resubmit next week, or the next one. And this is where we're stopping. Okay. All right. Just looking at general ways to improve. I tried a lot of different things, but I'm hoping to take piece to the next level. Might ditch the plinth. Please do. It was good freehand practice. Yeah, but it's distracting. It really doesn't add anything. It only detracts from the figure, which is the important part. Good night. Yeah, this is not helping at all. Okay, just simplify. Also smaller. Okay, plinths for bus. Grab a color. Okay, plinths for bus should be about shoulder width. Okay, this is a good size for a plinth. Probably the same height here, but like that wide. You probably want something about that tall. Okay. General rule, right? But yeah, shoulder width is typically pretty good size. In terms of the painting, general shapes and stuff are pretty good. Cloak is maybe a little dark. This could definitely be cleaned up more. Okay, there's some rough parts here. All right, so like, I like the eyes, I like the colors of the face, I like some of the general volumes, but there is some overall roughness. Like, there's a lot of detail in this knife that's getting lost. Like this here, this needs, like, you've got to do stuff like this. Okay, so what you want, right? Like, there's a line of his face here. Like, that line is getting lost. I'm going to turn this on and off, and you guys are going to see what I mean, right? This line of his face is getting lost in the cloak because you're using, like, the same sort of tone, this, like, dark bluish purple for both, and it's becoming, like, one thing, right? So here I'm going to, like, soften this shade. Look at the different, right? Hold on, let me make sure this is clean too, so we get this nice and tidy. Okay. And then take some of this mid-tone blue, come back and cut in, right? So that black line is nice and thin, really separates the skin from the turban, right? Now look at the difference in the face here, okay? See? Right, so clean up that, like, there should be a clear separation between the skin and the turban, and this is not there. This line is like, it's like this dark black line, right? Not even black, it's like this dark purple line, and it's so thick around the contour of the face that it's way too much. Yeah. Yeah, do a little more work on the bird, and then we'll talk about the bird. It's, what's it called? It's once every 2 weeks. So feedback for now. We'll see what happens in the future. If it starts catching on, I might do if it gets, like, so crazy, I might start doing, like, a European stream time, like an early Friday every other week. So it'll be, like, early on one Friday and then late, like, so Asian and, like, Asia Pacific and North America time for one, and then European time for the other. Okay? So that's the big things I'm seeing, right? So just do that around, you got to do that around, like, you need separation. You need separation here. You need to separate these things. All these things need to, now I'm not saying use pure black, but things need to be, like, nice and separated. This, I think, is just, like, shine. I doubt that this is actually that bright. I'm guessing that is, like, the shine of the paint. And then, yeah, like, look, right? Where this just, like, stops under here, like it should continue underneath. So sometimes you have to, like, turn your model over so you can see this stuff. Like, you forget that it's sort of there, right? But, like, these should have color and stuff underneath them. You're painting them from above, and you're losing the fact that, like, look, there's highlights on his nose right here, right? Well, you can see in the photo that there's a highlight that runs, like, right there. So that means the highlight of this purple thing, should also run right there. You can see on just the shininess of the paint that there's a highlight there, right? So that means you need dark purple that goes like underneath, right? We'll like redraw this thing. Okay, something like this, right? Nice base coat. Then we'll add the lights on the top half. Right, something like this. And then you get highlights, which are things that go on top. And the highlight is thin. And the highlight runs not necessarily on the very top. The highlight runs in an area where it's like reflecting across it. Okay? Sophie, Eric, would you give me feedback about this work in progress? I assume that the hat, face, hair, and owl is 95% done. First time doing sweater texture. Okay. Some advices how to make it look better would be very helpful. I'm going to make a floral pattern on the apron pocket. All right. Thinking about expanding to the whole apron could be too much. It could be. I like the stitching pattern you've done, so I don't know if it needs it, you know? Maybe like one or two little ones. Okay. Ooh, all right, I do see something here. So, like the hat, like the face, the owl looks quite nice. The stitching on the apron also looks quite good. The stitching on the sweater, there's too much dark tone in between, right? So this is like that herringbone kind of thing. So what's happened here is you've got too much brown space in between the sweater. So it looks like a basket weave instead of like a herringbone. Like it's there's too much gap in the thread, okay? So you have the space here, and this is not easy, but there's space here to like fit a whole nother line in between like almost all of these, right? Like that thickness there, the thickness I just drew is like the same as the line. Now, I'm not saying like try and paint in between all of these, but that's sort of what I mean, right? It's like that gap is so wide in some areas that I can put a whole nother line in the middle. Okay, so the fabric is weaved like very tight, right? It's like super, it's pretty tight thread, right? Basket, like a basket weave, you might have like bigger gaps in between. It probably wouldn't even be that big. So you want to try and close these up a little bit. Okay. The other thing is don't lose the general shape of the arm, right? So what I would suggest is before you even start doing the pattern, right? I'm going to do something on the top here. Okay, I would take, if this is your dark brown, right? You started with a dark brown, I would come up a little bit towards that yellowish color. And I would create some like general light first to give like an overall shape, right? And then you start, so now you have like this underlying tone that's just like a bit brighter than this like really dark tone. So you have kind of a general shape to the arm, and then you start building the texture on top of that. And then you can come in and like, you know, I think Mark takes like dark lines. I assume this is where you've seen this. Right, so he does like, vertical, horizontal, vertical, or it's like up, down, right? So he draws the vertical lines, and then he comes in with these shapes, and he starts drawing the but so like tighten them up, right? Right, like that one's too big of a gap, right? You want tighter space. And then he'll come in and then like do little dots. So he'll do stuff like this. And that builds even more like light on top of the texture. Okay? All right. I like the flower pattern. Maybe you could do, instead of it being like a flower, right, or like a pattern on the pocket, like a lot of times what people will do is they'll do like just little embroideries. So maybe you could do something like that, right? Like maybe there's a flower embroidery over here. A lot of time people do them because it's like there was a hole or something, so they patch it up, right, with embroidery. So they'll like, they'll like stitch a little flower on the apron in order to like hide a tear or something like that. So you can do stuff like this, and like maybe there's just one here, you know. And then you could like put one somewhere else or whatever. Okay. Petazina. Petazina. Hello. Sonlin. Hello. I am finished. I'm just finishing Sauk. I really like this figure, but it is a big challenge for me. The first photo is almost finished. The ornaments in the hair are missing. The second photo of you is how the whole thing looks, but the umbrella will still be painted. I have doubts about the neck and shoulder, like the collarbones, okay? Whether it is painted well. Other than that, I would welcome comments and tips on what could be done better here, of course, in addition to painting what is not painted. Okay. Well, let's just look at it with the umbrella, just because I think it helps like give like a general like scene to the figure. Like just seeing it all together, even if it's not painted, like I like to look at the figure with all of its elements. Okay. This is nice. This is nice. The freehand is quite good. This is good. Yes, yes, yes. I don't know why, but like because of the metal here for the fan, it made her look like she had a butterfly knife for a second. and that gave me a little chuckle. I think of these more as like typically as wood, but I guess if it was a battle fan, it might be made out of metal. I don't know. But it gave me a little laugh. Yeah, it's looking really nice. I just imagined her with what movie was it? Was it Terminator or something, where the guy like tries to threaten Arnold with a butterfly knife? What was the movie where he's like doing all the tricks with the like trying to intimidate him with the butterfly knife? I think it was maybe in The Punisher, the one with Thomas Jane. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, but ballad songs are from the Philippines, not from Japan. All right. Could clean up some lining here. Just a little bit. It's a little rough. I think the light on the neck is pretty good, honestly. I like this, actually, this like dark blue lining. I think this looks good and could work really well. So what I would suggest is like this needs to be lined, right? This looks nice. Here, this is lined pretty well, but like here on the skin, we could like this needs to be better separated. Okay. The theme of today is lining. I feel like that's the theme of quite a lot of weeks, but yeah, this looks quite nice. Like here, you can see the lining is a little wonky right there. Face is pretty good. The eyebrows are a little much. I think they should maybe be a little more consistent. Like there's a little too much stray hairs for someone who I think would have probably pretty manicured eyebrows or even like drawn on eyebrows. Don't geishas often have that? Is that Chinese or is that Japanese? Were geishas the one that would do this to their eyebrows? This was a thing, right? With geishas where they would like do the little tiny eyebrow thing. So they would like shave like this part and they would just have like the little section of eyebrow right there. Am I crazy or am I remembering this correctly? Didn't they do this a lot? Is that a thing or am I nuts? Either way. They would definitely have very manicured they're normally small circles. Well, anyways, I would look at pictures of geishas and see how they did their eyebrows, because right now it's a little rough. The face, the general structure of the face is quite nice. I like the red. It's maybe a little patchy here. I think it could be like a little bit bigger also. I think you could like spread the pink out a little more, right? I think you could go a little bit bigger here with the blush. I think it works quite well on the eyes. All right, as for the neck, this is pretty close to accurate, but you should have like a highlight here at the bottom, right? Collarbone also, this one's a little weird, right? So you wouldn't really have a highlight here. So this really wouldn't be highlighted. But this one would, right? Because this is the one that's facing the viewer and would catch light. So there you would have more of a highlight. This you'd also get you tend to get quite a strong highlight in the like crux of the neck, right? I don't have it's like impossible for you guys to see, but you do tend to get a highlight like here in this V, okay? And connect these, yeah? Same here, right? You might get one like that. If the light's coming in from the left, like the left side of her nose is quite shadowed. then you would probably have more of this sort of blue here that would like cross over the neck, something like this. Okay, something along those lines, and then this would probably come up a little bit more. So it would probably come up like this. Okay, something like that. Yeah. Hands also pretty good, but remember, if the light's coming in from the left or from the right, more from the right side based on the way you shadowed the nose and the face, then more of this front part of the fingers would be in light. Like how you did this hand. This hand's quite good. Yeah, I would clean that hand up a little bit. Yeah, it's really cool. It's good. It's coming along great. I dig it. Hair reflections are all quite nice. Yep. Okay. I think that's about all I have to say. I really don't have much to say about the robes at all. Like, this is the cloth is like super well done. Maybe the only thing I would say is that like you've got some nice highlights here, and possibly I would like to see like a little bit more highlight on the shoulder, just because I like to push the light a little bit towards the shoulder here, just to like reinforce that like look this way, like it's that line that wants to like draw you in, right? So just maybe just a tiny bit more light on the shoulder there could be helpful. And it's a subtle difference, but like that little bit of extra light can push the eye. Okay. Cool. Very nice. And crow's caw. That makes more sense, huh? Hi, Eric. I'm new to bust painting. I'd love feedback on this piece. The composition, the colors chosen. I am now doubting how well they work together. Okay. And the focus. I tried to put the focus on the face with higher values. Makes sense. But I'm not sure how that worked. I'm open to any and all comments you have. Eventually, I would like to try to adding OSL, reflected turquoise, tropical. Please don't. Okay. No. Okay. Pretty good. Ooh, this is a big child bust. This is big child, right? Okay. So, what am I seeing, right? Let's take a look. I think you do have generally yeah, I thought this was Black Sailors. It's like the orc, but he's like an undead orc. So I would say you generally have pretty good focus on the face, right? I'm not so sure this is the best angle for this picture either. You're going very black with the bone, but I'm missing some intermediate color, okay? I would like a bit more of this sort of yellowish black kind of color to give a little more shape to some of his face, okay? Also to the like the teeth and stuff, give a little more a little more volume to this stuff. The like up here is pretty good, but like you could reinforce this a little more, because what's happening is I'm losing some of the like separation of the teeth. If everything is sort of the same value here, like in this area, okay, like here with the teeth, I'm losing the individual teeth. All right, so by darkening it just a little bit, right? Not saying to black. We don't have to go to black. And even some of these black areas, you don't have to go all the way to like this dark black that you're using, right? Like a dark olive gray kind of color can work here. Then you come up in the light, right? And then you can really start to like create some definition on this stuff. Right, so like getting some really strong highlights on some of the teeth, and this is going to help like give more shape and make these clear, like that these are individual teeth and forms, right? Like even just like sometimes the light might wrap around it a little bit. Okay, like we need some spot highlights to really show where different like elements begin and end. Okay, something along those lines. Even down here, like a little bit, maybe not quite as intense, but a little bit of like just a touch to like show those where it meets the mark, like little lines to like give some shape to the jaw there, you know, where the teeth connect. Okay, cool. All right, this part here, I think you're going a little too far, right? This is again this problem of like we talked about it earlier on the guy with the beard and the green robe. Like you're getting too focused on the micro details and the weathering that you're losing a bit the like overall shape of the hat, right? So what I would like to see is like more. I'm gonna make this an ad. I'd like to see like some more form to the hat, that it's like this gets lighter as it goes down or darker as it goes up, whatever, right? I want this like shape and curve here to show, and you can worry about like micro details, right? But I need this like overall form first. And then I can grab like a dark purplish color. I can lower this. Okay, and there's that micro detail still shows up, but it's not like so in your face and contrasted that like I lose the general shape of the hat, right? It's a very pointy geometric shape, and I want to make sure that I maintain that and show that, right? Then that's going to help further push focus towards the face. Okay. Same with these things, right? You've got so much weathering and like light here on the edge, but we don't really have like, I want like general light across these shapes first and foremost, and then you can worry about like the smaller parts, right? Even like on the ribs, like let's get some more light on some of these parts. There's clearly light here because the medallion is shining. So even if it's just like a couple little spots, right? We'll give some more shape and form to some of these parts. And then yeah, like push that light on the face just a little bit more. Get a little dot in the eye. Okay, and then generally like this part of the muzzle, right, should probably just be like a little bit brighter. Not quite that much, but you get the idea. Right, then I can restore some of the smaller details, but more subtly. Okay, so, right, shadows, lights, really push, look at how much difference just the lights make, right? To define the forms. And then detail on the mouth, like the mouth. Okay, cool. Makes sense. I hope that was helpful. I hope that was an interesting Feedback Friday. Huh? Every other Friday? Not next Friday? Or we've got a 2-week break. It'll be 3 Fridays from now because I will not be here unless Ray has something that I can stream from on Friday from Texas. So there probably won't be a Feedback Friday, but maybe there will. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I'll turn the YouTube off.